Hey guys, this is Doug. Welcome back to Danger Planet. I'm here with a bunch of friends, and today we're talking all about Moonstone. This is Doug. I'm here with Brandon. Brandon, say hello.
Oh, hello. I wasn't going to talk.
I wasn't going to
Hi.
talk. He's a little sick, but he's
I'm
here for
pretty
you
ill from
guys.
Captain Con still, but I'll be here in spirit mostly.
And we are here with the two newest members of the Danger Planet. We are here with Jared and Keith. Guys, say hello to the internet.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Internet.
And we're going to talk all about one of my favorite games that isn't Malifaux, actually Moonstone. This is a game that's been really near and dear to my heart for about 2.5 years now, I think is when I started collecting it. And we've recently gotten into making more content for it. So this is the first in a ongoing coverage series of Moonstone that you guys will be seeing from the Danger Planet. And our two subject matter experts we have on the phone with us right now, Jared and Keith. And today we're just going to go over a high-level overview of what is Moonstone, how it works, and why you guys should be excited about it. So I think with that, the first place that we should start is just to introduce our two new team members. Jared and or Keith, whoever wants to start first, can you guys just give us like a really quick overview of who you are and how you got into wargaming and how you landed on Moonstone as your game of choice? Whoever wants to go first.
I'm going to put Jared on the spot and make him go first.
Sure.
Awesome. So thanks for the welcome, Doug. I do want to, and the punt, Keith, thanks for punting over to me. I do want to dispute your initial claim of subject matter experts. We're
No, I've never
We're
been
just
an expert in anything.
we're enthusiasts. We've actually, I've
We're
been playing
experts.
much shorter than you've been collecting Moonstone, but we have played a serious amount in the last few months here. So
Well, you play every week at your house, and you ran a large tournament, and that's how I met you. So I would consider you at least some level of a subject matter expert.
fair,
Let
fair
him
enough.
talk us up, Jared. It's fine.
Yeah. We
Fair
met
enough.
Brandon and I met these guys at Captain Con while we were running the Malifaux event, and they were running a Moonstone event in the room right next to us. And I also had happened to have set up a Moonstone demo table in the other room, so it was kind of like you got peanut butter in my chocolate type scenario. And it's been really, really awesome finding another group of guys that are passionate about this. So, I would refute your refutation and say that you are a subject matter expert, sir.
Fair enough. Well, just a little bit about me, I guess, for the fans out there. I've been a long-time wargamer. I started with 40K way back as a senior in college back in 2009-ish. So I've been around it for a while. I'm dating myself a little bit here. But that's okay. As I got older and had kids and less time, the last few years I've really moved into skirmish gaming in general. I played all of them at some point or another, Legion, 40K, all those big ones, Armada. But I've really been slowly getting into skirmish games more. Really, really loved MCP. Marvel Crisis Protocol is a big one for me. Worked on
Hell
the mod
yeah.
for that on TTS.
Yep.
That was a big part of my life for a while.
We love
Star
that
Wars
here as well.
Shatterpoint. Yeah,
We love
yeah.
both those games here as well. I
Definitely got to
personally
get those in.
play more MCP than Shatterpoint, but
Same. Which is a shame because I'm a giant Star Wars nerd, like way more than is normal or healthy. But yeah, so really a bunch of different skirmish games out there, and just a few months ago, Keith was actually trying to get me into Malifaux, and we played a demo game of Malifaux. I was looking at crews, and I said, Keith, before I buy into Malifaux, I'm just telling you, I'm not going to buy any more games after this. I'll buy one more skirmish game. Are you sure you want it to be Malifaux?
Tale is all this time.
And I was looking at crews. I was back, I was doing a whole bunch of research and things. And then he came over one day just to play games before a D&D session. And I said, he was like, I'm going to come over early. We're going to play a game. I said, all right, what are we playing? And he goes, oh, I'm bringing Moonstone. It's short. It seems like it's going to be pretty good. I want to give it a go. And the rest is history, as they say. I mean, it was love at first bluff for me.
that's awesome.
It's and the first successfully called bluff. The rush from that is amazing.
The dopamine hit from knowing that you're gonna be able to slam down another green.
Catastrophe, yeah.
Yeah,
You get that green 3 on a flintlock, and your day is made, man.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
And really, I mean, I'm serious. I had Malifaux stuff in my cart in a couple of websites, and I flushed it, and I was immediately buying Moonstone like the next day. And
You
it's
should still
been,
buy Malifaux. But
These
I mean,
guys are
yeah, oh,
these guys will be
absolutely.
given Malifaux models and forced to play with us. Don't
Yeah.
worry. Don't worry.
Right.
The internet. Well, Brandon and I
Generally,
will take care of that.
yeah,
Don't worry.
you'll get into Malifaux by proxy if you talk
Oh
about
yeah,
it.
and
That's just how it works.
There's
I
a
really enjoyed
sign
it.
on the Danger Planet office when you walk in that says unattended gamers will be given Malifaux models.
nice.
Excellent, excellent. But yeah, I mean, it was just so good. We'll get into more of the specifics of why Moonstone is so great later on. But I mean, at its core, I found myself having fun, like too much fun, not really caring so much about rules and was I winning or losing. It was just an amazing game. We'll talk more about it later. But Keith,
And
it's your turn.
what is your current faction of choice, Jared?
Oh, yes, Leshavult. So I really have a lot of Leshavult, and we'll talk a little bit about the sub factions and stuff later on. But I main kind of do fauns is really my main sub faction within Lesh. So
Let's go. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Keith, who are you? Where are you from?
I am Keith, and I am here. I've actually only been wargaming for about 5 or 6 years now. I met a guy I was working with, and I'd always seen Warhammer growing up, and like I really liked the idea of it, but never had anyone to play it with. So when I met this guy at work, he mentioned Kill Team, which was smaller, not as expensive, little skirmish game set in the Warhammer universe. So I got into that, and it kind of just took off from there. I started building into 40K and AOS, and I realized I hated painting the same model 20 times. It
More
was
than 20, bro.
oh my god, it was crazy. Looking at my Moonstone models and the idea that I painted 20 of the same one at one point, just it's crazy. So once I realized that painting was not my favorite part of the hobby, I started looking more into skirmish games and just kind of naturally gravitated towards whatever came out. If there's a 2-player starter set for it, then I've probably played it. I'm lucky enough to be able to pretty much just buy whatever I want and play it with my buddies. So I was playing Malifaux, and I really enjoyed the card flipping mechanic. That really stuck out to me because, as Jared will tell you, our dice rolling is just abysmal, and one's all around for us. So when it was, I can play what I need out of my hand, it was really, really enticing. So I was playing Malifaux for a while, and then the internet just naturally compares Moonstone and Malifaux with the card flipping mechanics and like the unique systems they both have.
And
So
they're both alternating activation as well.
yes, that's a big thing for me as well that you bring that up. Actually, like alternate activations was another thing because Sigmar as a game was really fun, but I hated sitting there watching somebody do a half-hour turn and basically just sitting there. It's just not fun watching people play. So anyway, let me get back on track here. So it got compared to Moonstone, and so I got the 2-player starter set actually last year, and it sat on my desk for 4 months. And I was doing that hobby clean out we all do every year where we have too much stuff and we got to make room for more stuff. So I saw Moonstone, built it up, and brought it to my buddy's house and basically forced him to play with me because you can't play test the bluff mechanic with yourself. So I made him play it with me, and I mean, it was just, we were laughing the entire time. It was just some of the most fun I've ever had playing a game. We caught on to it very quickly. By round 2, it was mostly, we weren't really referencing the book anymore. It was just flipping cards, and just playing the game, man. It was that simple. And then I brought it to, like Jared said, I brought it to his house. I'm the bad influence, so I make Jared play whatever I want to play. So I brought it to his house. We played it beforehand, and I think that weekend you ended up buying models.
Yep.
I want to say.
I mean, you left the goblins with me, and I was gonna buy the fauns, and you said wait.
I bought the 2-player starter set.
Yeah, I have the other half of the starter set. You can buy that off of me.
So then my buddy I was playing with and Jared, they both wanted to play, so I grabbed the 2-player starter set because my other friend I owed money to. So I was like, hey, like, I'll buy this starter set if you guys want to play, and you can have the models from it, and then we'll be even. So
Paying
he ended up.
debts with wargaming models the way God
Oh,
intended.
that is
Yeah,
right. That's
exactly.
right. So he took the shades. Jared took the fauns, and the great thing about the starter set is you need just like one extra box, and you have a full troop. So Jared got a box. My friend got a box. We were playing full games of Moonstone in less than 2 weeks after that, and then
Yeah.
it's been every week since. This game has taken over my life completely.
Yep.
I think you guys both made a good point, which is like a good segue point here, and it's something that I personally love about Moonstone is that the rule set is like pretty light in terms of X's and O's and like amount of text that you read, but it also is very well designed in my opinion. Like it's a fast moving, relatively easy to get to grips with rule set, but it doesn't feel any less of a tactical game or any less of an experience because of that. It feels like it actually enhances it, in my opinion. And that's one of the reasons that I love it so much. So I guess that's a perfect kind of transition pivot point. There's a lot of people out there that don't know what Moonstone is, right? And that's kind of like our job right now is to hopefully get more Moonstone players out there in the world. So, this is directed to you guys as a group, right? You, Keith, and you, Jared, together. Give us some high level context on what is Moonstone as a game, right? Like we talked a little bit about how it's an alternating activation game set in a whimsical high fantasy universe, and we talked a little bit about how it uses cards and stuff. But give us a little bit more context. How does it work? How does the game function? What's the high level on how it plays out in you guys' opinions?
Yeah, so I can just jump right into that if you don't mind, Jared.
Go for it.
So, like we said, Moonstone is a skirmish game. I think the best thing about Moonstone right off the bat is there's no point system. So every model that's the value of the model. It's model to model. So you bring 4 models, I bring 4 models, you bring 5 models, I bring 5 models. All of them are balanced against each other. So you don't have to go with the equipment. Oh, this character has a grenade. Oh, this character is going to bring this round, all that. Every that's what you get, and that's the model. I think that's amazing. It takes away a lot of like the pains of getting started. The most unique thing about Moonstone would definitely be the card system. Jared, do you want to go into like the melee and the arcane deck?
Yeah. I mean, as Keith sort of alluded to a little bit, one of the banes of my existence is dice rolling. I have epic levels of bad dice luck. So, like Malifaux, Moonstone uses a deck of cards. Really, it's 2 decks.
Yeah, I was gonna
One
say, it's
for
two separate decks. They're
yeah,
very
2
different.
separate decks, and they are proprietary. So, like in Malifaux, you can use a regular 52 card deck, and just you have to know what's what. But with Moonstone, there are 2 separate proprietary decks. One for any kind of ranged ability, which we call arcane in the Moonstone world, and one for melee combat. And what's great about them is they have all kinds of mechanics in them that just really make it fun, right? So on any kind of an arcane ranged attack, you're drawing a hand based on how good your model is with ranged or arcane attacks,
Or like
based on that
abilities
stat.
or
Yeah,
anything, right?
abilities. Yep. And how good they are with anything ranged, and then you're telling your opponent what you're placing down, what you're playing to get. So, for example, a healing ability, you might need a blue 2, and the deck is comprised of 3 colors and 3 numbers, 1s, 2s, and 3s in the deck, and then a 4th card called a catastrophe. And once you get your hand, you're drawing it randomly. Once you get your hand, you might need a blue 2, and you say, all right, I'm going to play a blue 2. And you have the option to play a blue 2 and tell the truth, or bluff and say you're not doing it and play it face down. And your opponent grabs their what's called a resist hand. They take 6 cards out of the deck, and they have to decide based on what the board state is, how many cards you've drawn, what kind of cards you have in your hand, what kind of cards they have in their hand, whether you're telling the truth or not. And that just leads to some really, really fun interactions. And different things happen if you call a bluff, or if you're telling the truth, but they call it incorrectly. but
I
lots
think
of
the
different
biggest
things.
thing
Go
too
ahead.
is these everything Jared is saying, spot on. Both players are committing these cards at the same time, face down, and then for example, for the arcane, they're committing it face down. In melee, they're both committing it face down at the same time, but we'll get to that. And then you flip it up for a reveal, and that's the like, ho, like,
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? Or sometimes you don't have to flip it up because they don't call your bluff and you never show, but you might have been lying. You know what I mean? And I always feel like that's such a cool part because there's no other game I've played that has that type of
I
bluffing element to it.
I'd be more scared playing like a poker player in Moonstone than
Yeah,
somebody who has like a couple of games of Moonstone under their belts. Just
yeah,
because if you can bluff and you can get away with it, it's just such a game changer for you.
yeah. And you like that feeling that first time you're like, all right, man, I hope he doesn't
Yep.
because like Jared said, right? Like an arcane deck is 1/3, 2 2s, 3 1s of 3 different color sets. You've got green, I guess purple/pink and blue.
Yeah.
And then you have 3 crit failures called catastrophes. So if you have like an ability that needs a green 3, like we were talking about the green 3, and we talk about that. Keith and I talk about
Oh
the
God.
green 3 a lot because it's usually what's attached to the end of very large guns. So you
Yes.
need a
Yes,
3, and
yes.
you're like, oh man, here's my green 3, and you're like, I hope my opponent doesn't have that in his hand because he's gonna call my bluff if he does.
Yep.
And then you get away with it for the first time. It feels amazing. Like it's really fun. It's a really fun element of it.
And the great thing is like you don't have to show your opponent the card. It's not required in the game or anything. So
Yeah.
like you can just put the card away and they're never gonna know if you were bluffing or not. And that drives me insane. But
Yeah.
I always show the card
We
because I'm a
always show.
gentleman. But
Yeah.
no, you don't.
Well, not in tournament. I wouldn't do it in tournament, but
I would still do it.
I would never. Brandon and I would never show each other. Brandon and I would get into
I,
screaming
I,
matches.
I
over
have
it,
never
though.
once told the truth while playing a game of
Yeah.
Moonstone, and I'm not going to start now.
Yeah, Brandon is in essence a IRL Fey trickster, so you know he would never divulge that information.
You're not wrong, but like also I'm going to have to, obviously I'm going to have to cut this. You can't tell people that on the internet. Then they're not going to answer my emails about helping princes and stuff.
Yeah, sure. And then so I think the other half to the arcane deck, right, is the melee deck, and it like the arcane deck, it is its own proprietary deck. And I think actually, Jared, you did a really good job describing this to a demo E when you described it as like you said the guy who makes this, or the designer, was really into like fencing and like sword play.
yeah.
Right?
He's into real life, like Hema, the medieval sword fighting, like turned into a sport, right?
Yeah.
And so what he was going for was, in most games, you say, all right, I'm taking a swing at your guy, I'm going to roll some dice, and I might hit, and then he rolls his armor save, right? And it's very one-sided. There's little risk. There's no risk reward other than oh, now I'm close enough for combat, you can hit me back on your turn or whatever. But the real kicker that I love in Moonstone, it's just like a real sword fight. If I go for a thrust, I'm opening myself up for you to slash me from the side that I'm not protecting, right? So I mean, in a real sword fight, every single move can be met with a counter move from the enemy. And in Moonstone, the same is true. Like you said, Doug, you both play a melee card at the same time. You place them face down, and then you flip them face up. You get the reveal of like, oh, I did a thrust and you did a sweeping cut, right? Well, in real life, that sweeping cut, you can knock away the thrust. And then just like in real life in Moonstone, you can follow that up with another attack and get a free follow-up attack, like a parry. And I just love the fact that within Moonstone, you can lose your model on your attack.
Yes.
And it really, really brings
Yep.
a huge risk-reward aspect to the game.
To even initiating combat.
Yeah. On your turn, on my turn, I'm attacking Keith. There's a potential that he could kill me. If he plays the right cards against me, I could lose my model on my own activation, which sometimes might feel bad, but I mean, it leads to some really, really fun fights.
It helps with the balancing a lot, I feel like, too, because I mean, there have been situations where I know I keep mentioning Flintlock, but that's just how obsessed I am with him, where Flintlock has the potential to have his gun broken from a catastrophe. So if you fail a bluff and someone plays a catastrophe, you're not able to use his gun anymore. So I remember one of my first games, I was sitting there thinking like, well, he's useless now. He's screwed. Like he's literally a sniper sitting in the middle of a battlefield. Like, have at him, boys. And then he gets into melee combat, and I realized like, oh, he does like extra slicing damage. That's pretty good. Come to find out, I got probably like 3 rising attacks into a falling swing or something, one of those big heavy crits, and I did like 10 damage with a sniper that has no business being in melee against something and won. So all of a sudden it's what's supposed to be an easy combat for my opponent and be able to clean up quickly, like, oh, he just lost on his turn and now I'm like in the middle of the field and I still have my model. So it's really one of those great things about it being balanced model to model, where like, yeah, you might be fighting a giant, but you gotta be careful.
And it also keeps everyone in the game, right? So like Keith was saying with Sigmar or 40k, where you can sit there for 20 minutes and watch your dude move his 50 models around the board and make his attacks and whatever. Yeah, you do an armor save now and then, but in Moonstone, and I think it's similar in Malifaux, right? Both players are engaged in
there's
ability.
There's always something both players are doing.
Yeah, you always have to pay attention and be doing something. You can't like nod off and go take a bathroom break like your 40k tournaments.
Right, which I love. I think that's great that both players are engaged in every action, right? So, both players have cards in their hands, picking things to do and things like that. So it's just keeps the game moving, and it's really fun in that respect.
And I think one of the other things I just want to call out before we move past the melee conversation and into like the how do you farm Moonstone conversation is that every single character in this game has a unique attack that is unique to them, and the mechanic is really cool. They basically
signature move.
Yeah, exactly. So they key off of. We talked a little bit about thrusts and sweeping cuts and low blocks and high blocks. There's basically 2 blocks in the deck, and every one of these moves, I think there's 3 of them, right, in the deck. Is that
there's
correct?
3 of each card,
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's sweeping cuts. There's 3 sweeping cuts. There's 3 falling swings, right?
Rising attack.
3 rising attack. 3 thrust. 3 low guard. 3 high guard. Am I missing anything?
I don't think so. I think you got it.
So
there's 4 attacks and 2 guards.
And 2
so
guards.
6 different types, and there's 3 of each in there.
And each of the models, one of those types of cards, on the back of their card, it says upgraded from X. And then it becomes that special ability. And these special attacks, some of them are just like attacks. Some of them do crazy stuff, like move models or make people drop objectives or make you breakfast in bed or something. Like
Fritz demolishing 3 models at once.
Yeah. It's such a cool, unique mechanic because every single individual model has a uniquely identifying signature move. And sometimes you get into scenarios where you both flip up your melee cards at the same time, and somebody's like, I'm using my signature move. And they're like, well, you know what? I'm using my signature move too. And then like combat turns into just like shenanigan-laden nonsense, which is just amazing.
That's when you reference the rule book in the FAQs.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I think you guys have done an awesome job giving an overview of the arcane deck, of kind of melee. Let's talk a little bit about objective play and how you win the game of Moonstone. How does one get Moonstones? How do Moonstones get set up? How does that work, guys?
So,
and is it the best mechanic that's ever been invented, period?
Absolutely.
Well, you literally took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, this is probably another like huge draw for people. If the melee deck and the arcane deck don't get it for you, it's got to be the actual dropping of the Moonstone. So the way you win a game of Moonstone is at the very end, you have to have more Moonstones than your opponent. The way you get Moonstones is at the start of the game, either player holds 7 D4 dice about a foot above the board. They say like 10 to 12 inches, and you just drop all 7 onto the board, and wherever they land, that's where they are. So you'll see like if they land with a 4 up, that Moonstone is going to require 4 energy off of a character to dig out of that ground. So every model has a certain amount of energy on their card. Some have like 2, 3, 4. So you have to spend that energy as an action to yank these stones out of the ground. So after you drop them, you and your opponent kind of look at the board and decide like, all right, we like where those stones dropped, and each person gets a mulligan. So if I didn't like this drop that time, I could say, oh no, redo it. Then Jared gets to do it, and he can decide if. And obviously during casual games and stuff like that, you can like look at the board and decide how you want to play it. But so you drop the stones, you decide that the board's good, and then you do your whole deployment. And the whole point is you need to get these stones and hold on to them for dear life. If your models die, you drop those stones, and they drop at a 1. So they're very easy to pick up, so your opponent can come and just steal that right out from under you. It's a super fun and keeps every game different, which I love. No two games will be the same. It makes you think, sorry. So in this beginning, you decide deployment and who goes first. So it's called early bird and initiative. So early bird decides what side of the board they want to deploy on, and initiative will go first on turn 1. So after you drop the Moonstones, you roll a d6 to decide who gets early bird and who gets initiative. So the higher roll decides, do I want early bird where I get to deploy my first model and I get to decide what edge of the board I have. So if you got 4 Moonstones right outside of a deployment zone, you're probably going to want to take that side depending on what list you brought, and if that's going to be an easy pickup. So you decide early bird and deployment after the Moonstone drop, and then the initiative gets a bonus each turn after turn 1. So on turn 2, if you chose initiative to go on turn 1, you're going to get a +2 to your initiative roll. So that kind of like makes it so no one really gets a double turn at the end.
Yeah.
So I think it's like super unique.
I like the distinction between early bird and initiative. I think that's a really eloquently designed mechanic.
Yeah, I think when you're starting the game, it can be a tiny bit confusing just because it's so unique at how it works from any other game, and just with the dropping of the Moonstones can be a little confusing at first. But once you play way more games, you're going to look at the board and say, oh, this is the type of board where I'm going to want to bring this certain character because I'm going to have to run to get that Moonstone. Or
you can look at it and go, this on this board, initiative is super important. Early bird not so much, or vice versa.
Or in this matchup even,
Yeah.
So once you get into like, we've done a little bit of tournament play and we've been getting more into the competitive side of it, and it's become way more of like, oh, the map is going to dictate what models I bring rather than what my opponent is going to bring, because a lot of the models you can kind of work around different mechanics for other models. But
that's a very Malifaux thing as well, which I am a huge fan of.
Yeah, exactly. Like with the schemes and everything, like if this one scheme pops up, like this model is perfect for it, and you like it's a no-brainer that you need to take that. Like if I'm playing gnomes and I see there are 2 4 deep Moonstones right next to each other, I know, I'm probably going to take Morris. He can dig a Moonstone no matter what its depth value is and still do his full 4-inch movement with it. So that would be something that it's like, oh, I'm going to take that because of the Moonstones on the board, not because, Jared took Reagan on his Leshavults and I hate her, so I'm going to have to take this guy.
Before we get into any more mechanics...
Slight at Reagan right there, guys.
Yeah, just a little one.
Just a little one.
But before we get into any more mechanics, though, Doug, I do want to say, for the lore hounds out there, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't just mention what...
100%. Yeah.
Moonstones are. So in the lore of Moonstone, sometimes Moonstones actually grow out of the ground. They're not from the moon. They're called Moonstones because they grow at night and they glow with the light of the moon. And so they grow at night, and all the characters in this whimsical fantasy world want to bring them to the wizards in the tower, who will pay hefty money for them. So the reason you're trying to get Moonstones is because all these people in this world called Tauber are super greedy, and they are trying to take the Moonstones over to the wizards. And actually, at dawn,
they disappear.
As soon as the sunlight hits, the Moonstones disappear.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a mad scramble, and the turns simulate going through the night. And then, in the book, it's like turn 4 is dawn, and whoever had the most Moonstones at dawn is the winner.
Is the winner, yeah. Which is, I was actually, so it's funny you mentioned the lore stuff, because the way that my brain works, I'll admit it to you guys, I'm a spike. I'm a tournament, tabletop player.
Mm-hmm.
But Moonstone is one of the only games that I've ever just been so enamored with the design of the models and the world and the lore. Because for me, when I was a kid, one of my favorite movies was Labyrinth.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys you like the high fantasy Muppetry, like Muppet stuff. I loved that.
Dark Crystal, man.
Yes, 100% Dark Crystal. Let's fucking go.
Those disgusting Skeksis.
Yeah, they just
get the fuck out of here.
One of the new Shades models looks like a Skeksy.
Dude, yep, absolutely. I saw that and I was like, there's no way you're gonna tell me this isn't Dark Crystal.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, the aesthetics of this just grabbed me directly on the skull and shook me and said, you are going to love the hell out of this. And I was reading the lore last night to actually prepare for this,
Yeah.
and I hadn't read the lore in the rule book before, even though I own 2 full factions of this game. And I was just reading it, and I was like, "Man, this game's awesome." Like,
It's like you said too. Like I've never really been a big lore buff myself. Like it's fun and it's cool, but it's never been like a deal breaker for me in a game. But I keep finding myself like after reading a little bit, like all my characters, all my models, I mean, like have really taken life when I'm playing. Like when you bring Baron von Fancy Hat, like it's like I'm Baron von Fancy
just
Hat,
to
and
be
I'm
clear,
talking shit to all these goblins and telling them how like stupid they are and how much better I am. Like I'm bringing Sir Poppycock, and I do my stupid little Poppycock accent because that's what I decided to do the first time I played Poppycock. Like despite it being named characters, which might turn off some people, they really do have character, and it builds such a great scenario when Sir Poppycock is going at the nanny because she just gave him milkies. You know what I mean? Like
it's the best.
just ridiculous stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I think we've done a very good job giving a high level over here. You guys are going to see so many more Moonstone videos for us, so we don't want to cover any of these specific topics in the weeds, right? This is more introduced as like a what is Moonstone? Why should you get excited about it? Hopefully you guys will like it as much as we do type video. But one of the things I do want to talk a little bit about now that we've gone over the core mechanics of the game and kind of the meat of how it works is kind of the very, very high level overview of kind of each of the factions, if that makes sense. So I guess I'll leave it to you guys, however we want to tackle this in whatever order. But I figure we just want to give a little bit of a, talk about the gnomes, talk about the Commonwealth humans,
My
talk about
babies.
yeah. So whoever wants to start with whatever. I figured you want to start with the Commonwealth really quickly, just give a high level overview of
Yeah.
the nested factions under that.
Yeah, so the Commonwealth, I'm going to take over, Jared, because I play Commonwealth. I'm going to, yeah, so the Commonwealth are the humans of the Tauber. They are humans and gnomes. They are, I think, the most straightforward faction to play. If you're playing the human side, they're like I said, Baron von Fancy Hats or Poppycock. These are the nobles. They're like these big hoity-toity, we're better than you type people. So they're going to get in your face and get into that melee combat. They're usually kind of like a little bit beefy.
They're very beefy, very killy.
Beefy boys. I very much recommend them as a first starting faction, especially the soldiers, the humans. I know, Doug, you've played them a little bit. You can...
Yeah, we played. That's
Yeah.
what we played last week, actually. It was,
Yep.
I was on soldiers and we were on goblins, I think.
And I don't think that takes... I think they're still very, very fun, and they're my main like team I play. I still bring them almost to every game after I tell myself I'm not going to and try something new. I just end up bringing Hogswash every time. But it's a great faction to start with. It teaches you the base mechanics of the game really, really well. They don't do anything super fancy, so
But
yeah.
they hit hard, and you have
They
to
hit
respect them.
very hard.
If
Yeah,
you don't,
yeah.
if you don't respect their ability to whop you on the head, they're gonna walk over and whop you on the head and get.
It's basically just pick the character you're gonna buff the crap out of, and then have fun.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and people have to play against you with soldiers, which is great too. But we'll get into more details later. I digress. And then the gnomes, they're kind of like a little bit more advanced humans. They can do the same things. They have a great punching power. But they have their tricks that some of the humans don't have access to. Little things like a lot more arcane spells they can cast. They can be more of a disruption for the other team. They also have a giant ass airship that's awesome, and it has a little gnome and a turret underneath it that just blows everybody away. It's such a threat on the board. It's amazing. While they're called gnomes too, I'd like to point out that they're more like dwarves. Like they're one of the keywords is Norse for them, and they kind of look like snowy hill dwarves.
They have a very Celtic inspired.
Yeah.
For them.
And just some of like the most fun models you can play. Joanna, special shout out to her. I got to give it to her. She's just one of the best models in the game, in my opinion. They're very fun to play, and I think that they're a great step up after you've been playing humans, that you can transition right into gnomes pretty easily, and they'll give you a little bit more room to play with if you're looking for more like ways to mess with your opponent rather than just smashing them into the ground.
Yeah, and they are, I guess, as much as one can be in this world of Moonstone, they are some of them are the generic good guys. Some of them are
Yes.
not bad
They're
necessarily.
happy drunks.
Yeah,
You'll notice a lot of the models, young Jack, I think is one of his moves references him drinking, and then
there's a lot of beer drinking and
yeah.
ale drinking in this game.
Oh yeah, Bjorn literally just has a flagon of ale that
I mean,
he's running around with.
Fritz's limited edition model is literally just called Drunken Fritz, right?
And
Yep.
they have a specific scenario, a narrative
have it.
scenario. Yeah, where Fritz is wandering home from the bar drunk, and he's been mouthing off because he found a Moonstone. And the scenario opens with Fritz walking out of the bar and Agatha, the bartender, trying to make sure that he's going to get home safe, while people are like scoping him out, trying to jump him to steal his Moonstone. And that's the scenario, and that's why I love Moonstone. It's so cool.
It's great, and like we didn't really touch on the scenarios earlier, but like I think those are such a great part of the game as well if you're into the narrative side.
Yeah, and we'll do a video on those as well. But I think we're doing a good job here, given like a 5,000 foot. With the Commonwealth covered at a high level, Mr. Jared, can you talk to us a little bit about the Leshavult?
Absolutely. So the Leshavult, and just to take it back one step, 5,000 foot view. There's 4 factions that we'll talk about, and we'll do more videos like Doug said. And within each faction is 5 to 7 sub factions. But the great thing is, you really only have to match your main faction. You don't have to worry about the sub faction keywords. They just help with synergies and things.
Yeah. Some of them have
Keywords.
soup synergy. Some of them you can kind of like piece different pieces together, and it's kind of up to you as the player. I feel like.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, you play what's fun as long as they share the same main faction. But my main, as I stated at the beginning of the video, is Leshavult, and they're really this is kind of different from me in real life. They're the tree-hugging hippie druid folks. It's not really how I am in real life, but I guess
that's just like your opinion, man.
It's just like how you feel, man.
Yeah.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah. So it's the sub factions within that. We'll tell you a little bit about what they are. They're the fauns, which is my main sub faction. Cultists, witches, animals, and tree folk are the different keywords that you can run off of. My other favorite. So there's fauns that I really gravitate towards. Are like the satyr people, and they're kind of for the folks that play all the the other games. They're kind of the movement focused. They're kind of squirrely. They'll move around on you a lot. They got a lot of help each other move more around the board, which can be important and can be hard to fight against.
Cough, wooded patches.
Yeah, wooded patches.
Yeah, they can make terrain as well too.
They make terrain, and then they don't care about the terrain that they made, but everybody else does, which is awesome. You can block.
Yeah, they block line of yeah,
and you slow down movement, but because they're woodland creatures, they don't care, and they'll just move through it anyway. The other sub faction that I've really been trying to get into, and this will tickle some of the Lord of the Rings folks out there, is tree folk. They're basically Ents.
Yeah,
and I love it. In the lore, they're called dendrites, like little spirits that inhabit the trees and then make the trees move around. And one of them can, like, when he dies, he can just spring up in a different tree on the board, and the spirit just inhabits a new tree, and the model gets back up. It's wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, that was the box we were talking about, because that's the one box I don't own from Lesh right now.
Oh yeah, they seem really good. I myself am having trouble getting consistent wins with them. I have one. I've lost a few, and I think that's just my shortcoming as a player and me wanting to do things that aren't really good for that faction, but they're fun to play.
You need to get better at bluffing, man. We can read you like a book.
Yeah. Even in TTS, I got called like 6 times. Was not last night, the night before. I got called like 6 times.
You had a rough
day.
Day.
Terrible. Yeah. It was awful. I thought without you being able to see my face that I might be able to get a few more bluffs across, but it didn't work at all.
That was the most bluffs I've ever called on you. Probably like added up the entire time we played in Moonstone. Like that's more than like.
That's hilarious. So then we got 2. One of them is a little bit of a newer one, right? Do you guys want to talk about which one? Do you want to talk about the goblins and their friends and the fairies next? I figure, and then we'll end on like the shades, maybe. Probably.
Yeah. I think we can split this one up, Jared, just because he has the goblins, but because we are prepping for Captain Con, we've only really been playing our factions.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
this is the Dominion, right?
yeah,
We're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about now?
yeah. The Dominion, yeah. So the Dominion is made up of the goblins and the fairies.
And
Goblins
And trolls.
are, and oh yeah, the trolls too. Yeah, that's right, trolls. And then they have some giants as well, actually. But yeah, so basically, there's goblins and the fairies. The goblins are these snarky little jerks that like to run around and cause a nuisance for everybody. I mean, one of the main models is Doug the Flatulent, who literally farts and makes everything move away from him, including his own people.
He's a goblin knight riding
Yeah.
a pug.
I mean, Sid Vicious, Portly Pete. I mean, all these characters just like
They're the best.
yeah, exactly. It's great.
Sid Vicious's signature move, back to Doug's love of the signature moves, is called groin tickler. I mean, you gotta
Oh
love
yeah,
that,
yeah,
you know.
So they play with a lot of energy, but they're usually pretty weak when it comes to health wise. Certain models like Sid Vicious, Portly Pete, they can like pack a pretty good punch. And then they have obviously like the trolls, which are just high health, low energy models usually. But I'm gonna give a shout out to Noel for like being the best support in the game and being a troll. They have some like they have some really, really great utilities at their belt. So normally with goblins, it's usually something I would recommend taking like 3 or 4 goblins and then like 2 trolls, just because they do have that low health. So you're going to want something a little bit beefier. But what the goblins do, you're always going to have fun playing them. You might not win, but you're going to do something that's going to make me pull my hair out while I'm playing against you.
Yeah, 100%.
And then Jared, take over for the fairies. You've had more experience against them. You got to play them in the tournament.
Yeah, the fairies.
That's why you're doing it.
They are. Thanks. They are what they sound like. They are literal tiny little fairies. I mean, the models aren't, or scaled to the rest of them so you can see them. But in the lore, they're tiny little fairies. And gameplay wise, they're just super slippery. I mean, they have a ton of energy, which allows them, their action economy is off the scale.
Every single
6
one of them
energy.
flies mostly.
Yeah.
6 energy, flying.
5, 6, 7. They all have fly.
2 evade.
Yeah, so they're really hard to hit. They're really squirrely. They're even more than the Lesh that I was talking about, the fauns. They're super hard to hit. They move around a lot. The balancing factor is when they want to harvest Moonstones, it costs more energy for them because they're small and they have the keyword weakling. Which
they not only skipped leg day, they skipped arm day, ab day, body day, and
all the days.
Everything. Yeah, all the days. Yeah, yeah.
And just to I'm not a lore hound myself, but I know there are a bunch of them out there. A little bit of the background lore, just a teaser, is that the city of Moonreach, where most of this stuff kind of takes place in and around Moonreach, just as in Malifaux, it's the city of Malifaux. The Dominion is really just all the people that were outcast from the city when it was taken over by the nobles, the Commonwealth POSs that Keith likes to play.
Yeah, no, the Commonwealth's better than you, and we know it.
Yeah, and they shoved all these people and creatures out of their home, and so now the Dominion is like this conglomerate, and the Dominion even includes, some humans, pirates, and things like that were displaced by the invasion and destruction of Moonreach.
Yeah,
they should win a war next time.
Keith has no sympathy.
None. See, I get into character with it. I am Fancy Hat. I am Fancy Hat.
I cannot believe this. Would it surprise you to know that I have Fae? And I can't believe this. So I can't believe this.
Brandon's primary faction is Fae. Brandon's.
Oh. I'm sorry, we can't be friends.
He's very upset right now. He's very upset right now.
We gotta get you with our buddy Steve. He's our fairy player.
Resident fairy player, and it's
resident fairy player.
God, it's I love Steve, but man, fighting those fairies is not fun.
A good Fae player or a good fairy player can be.
It's like Blue and Magic.
Yeah, a good fairies player can be so annoying to have to play against.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. It's like annoying. It's not even like that they're doing anything to take your models. Like, you're not dying. They're not killing you. They're not doing anything. You literally just you don't get to play Moonstone.
Yeah, it's funny. At least in the traditional sense. And then we have the newest faction. So this is a faction that, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but this is like these models are like really new. Like the
Dead Boys.
6 months new. Like, we started playing right when they came out.
Yeah. So and
September, they officially released. The Kickstarters were earlier, but September was like you could order it off the website.
Yeah, and that's when we started playing.
Yep.
and these guys are called the Shades of Moonreach. So do you want to? I mean, whoever wants to take it, I can also help a little bit. But when you guys are doing a great job, so you guys want to give us a little lowdown on the Shades?
The Dead Boys.
The Dead Boyos and their little what are the summons called again?
Psychopomps.
Oh
Yeah,
my
the
god,
Psychopomp.
dude.
To be clear, the Shades are the next faction I want to play. So anything I say about them with disdain is at least partially feigned sarcasm. I just playing against them can be trying, but I also love them and I want to have them for myself. I used them the other night in a TTS test game, just testing them out, and they were super fun to play as. But the Shades are the undead servants of the Forgotten King, who was the king of Moonreach before it fell and before he was killed. It was like, I forget in the timeline, it's like 500 years
Commonwealth
old or whatever. But so the Forgotten King and he raised his old servants from the dead, and so the Shades is all these undead people. And the sub factions are called, there's Risen Spirits. There's these, like Doug was saying, Psychopomps, which are these little ankle biter like 2 health.
One of them is a donut.
Little POSs. Yeah, one of them is a donut that says, you eat him to get health back.
A little tasty cake.
There's another one of them, and he's one of my favorite.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, little tea cake.
Come on.
There's a little guy that he is either actively an animated candle or he's holding a candle.
Oh, Lampy.
He is a lamp. His name is Lampy.
Yeah.
It is
Lampy.
Lamp. Yep. He's not holding it.
He is it. Yeah.
I met him the other day. He's interesting.
Yeah, he shines
Sir
brighter.
Jeremy.
He's Sir Jeremy. Yeah, Lord of the Deep. But these Psychopomps are little summons that many of the Shades characters can summon these into existence. In the game, and some of them over and over again, so you can keep killing them and they can keep being resummoned, which is a pain in the ass.
And some of them get buffs when things die on the battlefield, so you got to decide if it's worth killing the 3 annoying little ankle biters stopping you from picking up that Moonstone.
One of the lists that is 100% viable with Shades is a Psychopomp swarm list.
Yeah.
The first time I fought that list,
Cancer.
He had more Psychopomps on the table than I had regular models. Yeah. And I couldn't move around the board. I have since figured out how to deal with this, but at the time I was like, I can't even move around because a mechanic we haven't talked about yet. I think it's common to a lot of games is you get locked into combat and you can't really.
Yeah, Malifaux has combat engagement and stuff.
Yeah, you can't run away easily. So he has a swarm of little piddly pieces of crap that just get in my way.
We call them shitters.
Shitters, yeah, little shitters all over the board that are just stopping me from doing what I want to do.
Yeah, children.
Yeah, I got 3 of those, and they do stop me from doing what I want to do.
Why is Dad calling us Psychopomps now?
Love them to death, but man, if they don't hamper what I want to do,
Ethan is Sir Jeremy now.
So I think that's an amazing job, guys, giving an overview. I mean, like I said, you're gonna see more videos from us, guys, where we're gonna dedicate a video to Leshavult. We're going to dedicate a video to Commonwealth. We're going to dedicate a video to Dominion. We're going to dedicate a video to the Shades. And we're going to break down. you don't have to be on that.
Jonathan can do that one.
Yeah.
But you'll see those videos from us, guys, where we're going to go through model by model. Where if you've seen a Danger Planet tier list in terms of keyword breakdowns in Malifaux, it's going to be a very similar process where we go through and we break down each of the models available to that faction and ways that they play and things that they do on the tabletop. But at a very, very high level, that's kind of like a 5,000 foot overview, I think.
One really important question. How many times have you played Moonstone on a cake?
Oh, yeah. So this is actually not our first Moonstone video. Brandon and I made a wargaming table out of a cake, and we brought it to our LGS, and we videotaped ourselves playing Moonstone on it. So if you guys ever want to see that, that's actually already on the Danger Planet, and it's called We Made a Cake. I can't remember what we named the exact video, but it's we made a war game table out of a cake, and we literally did. And then we played Moonstone on it, and then we cut up the cake with a Warhammer 40,000 9th edition rulebook because at the time Brendan and I were like, well, this is all it's good for, and then we cut up the cake and we
Nice.
served it to people after we played the game on it. It's funny that we were talking about Flintlock because I had Flintlock in that game, and I just put him on the top of a hill, and I felt like king of the motherfucking castle, and it was amazing.
He's
I just
such
had
a good boy.
I just had Flintlock, and it was like a 3-player game, and I just had Flintlock at like a vantage position the whole game, just shooting people. I didn't win the game, but I shot people with a gun.
But you had the most fun because you brought Flintlock.
Yeah, 100%.
I could do a whole video on just Flintlock, I swear.
So, like I said, you guys did an amazing job giving an overview. Kind of on the back end, on the wrap up here, is there anything that either you, Jared, or you, Keith, want to call out, about why Moonstone is awesome that we haven't talked about yet, why someone should give this system a chance before we kind of, close this thing down? I want to make sure if there's anything that we haven't covered yet that either you guys feel could, move the needle for someone to get them involved in Moonstone. Is there anything you guys want to close out with that you feel passionate about, you want to talk about?
Yeah, I got 2 really quick points, Doug.
Sure. Yeah, go for
One
it.
I feel like we made it clear, but maybe not. I just want to say that this game is one of those, that is easy to learn, difficult to master, which is what most of the best games are, right?
Mhm.
So someone can pick it up, but there's so much nuance and
A lot of depth.
and depth to it.
Hey, Moonstone digging depth. Get it? We did it.
Oh,
Hey.
yeah, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
And then the other point I really want to make is, I don't know if we said Goblin King Games is the company that makes this game. They're UK based, but in my experience, I get nothing from this. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. GKG is a super prosumer company. They really just seem like they want people to play their game and have fun with it. They're on their Discord, the Moonstone Discord. They're all on there. They answer, they talk to people.
I've spoken with the owner of the company on Discord. Like he's there watching, reading, commenting.
Yeah, you get a broken model, they're more than happy to send you a free replacement whole model. They don't just send you that bit; they send you the whole model. They're really, really good. They're really nice. They're all of the not everything, but a huge chunk, probably like 70% of the models they have on their website. Standees and cards that you can print out.
Yeah, you can play. I was about to say you can play the game for free. It's literally
completely free.
It's
you can print the arcane
and
melee deck.
Yeah, you can print out the decks. The rules are free online, and you can print out standees and cards of their characters for free. I don't know of any other company that does that. I mean, that's insane. So, if nothing else, this small UK company deserves a little bit of respect for how they handle themselves as a company.
And it's an award-winning game. In 2023, these guys cleaned up from innovative game award design stuff. And I think they won a couple awards in 2024 as well. But I want to just mirror your sentiment here, Jared, in that these guys have amazing customer service. I liken it to the customer service that Weird has. And I say that because Weird has exceptional customer service as well.
Yes, they do.
So, just to say, yes, I agree with everything you said. So what do you got, Mr. Keith, for the closeout here?
I mean, Jared pretty much hit the nail on the head. I think that if any advice I can give to somebody looking into Moonstone but not willing to make that jump quite yet is if you're coming from a tournament setting where, like Malifaux, if you were like that tournament runner like you said, and you're thinking like, oh, the bluffing mechanic, all this RNG-ness, it just seems like doesn't have that competitive edge. I can assure you that it does. I can tell you that while you're going to have fun, you can also get that competitiveness out of this game with the list building. If you're looking for fun narrative stuff, they have that as well. It's just all around, I think it has something to offer every person, and the most part is like just the fun. It's a fun game. There's so much passion behind it. I mean, you can tell that Tom Greenway loves this game. It's like a family-owned business type deal. He has his parents packaging stuff in the back. Like, you can just feel that game when you're playing. Yeah, you can just feel that when you're playing.
Even the serious ones.
Anybody who is still not sure about buying into it, they have a great mod on Tabletop Simulator that I got to give a shout out to. It's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. It's a great way to test out things in the game. If anyone needs to learn the game, we have plenty of people willing to teach it, and it's great to be able to use that resource as well through it. Just really give the game a try. I promise you it's worth it.
And I was going to say, these guys are humble, so they would never bring this up themselves, but they have their own Discord, which I'm going to link as well in the body of this video. The Discord itself is called Moonstone New England, because we're all based in New England in the Boston area, but it doesn't mean you have to be from New England to
Absolutely
enjoy that
not.
Discord.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested in what we're talking about, you want to jump in and talk to some people that are really passionate about the game, you can click into that. Those guys are always talking about stuff, posting pictures of the battle reports and stuff like that, and I live vicariously through it, and it gives me a breath of fresh air every time I look at it on a lunch break during the workday, because it's something I love so much. So Danger Planet also has a smaller like Moonstone section to our Discord as well. And it just so happens that Jared and Keith are both moderators of that within Danger Planet as well. So if you want to interact with us through Danger Planet, you can do that. Jared and Keith are there as well. If you want to go to the more dedicated, specialized Moonstone server, and you want to just really live and breathe Moonstone, then you should definitely check out their New England Moonstone thing. For those of the folks that are relatively local, Jared, Keith, and myself are going to be working together to have events for Moonstone in the nearest future as well, which will kind of spoil more as that develops. But I just wanted to say both to you, Jared, and you, Keith, thank you guys so much for reigniting my passion around this game that I loved, because I bought the entire Leshavult faction and the entire Commonwealth faction. And Brandon will tell you, for like a year, I pushed this with anyone because I love anyone that would listen, because I loved it so much. And I got a couple games in and stuff, but not to the same degree as I play Malifaux, or not to the same degree as I play Marvel Crisis Protocol, or maybe not to the same degree that I was looking into Infinity at the time. But now I have a whole bunch of new friends that are super into this, and I'm just so excited. So, a personal thank you from me to both of you guys for being awesome and reigniting this spark in me. So I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for doing that as well.
Yeah, no, thank you for having us on and bringing us into the fold here. We love it.
Yeah.
Just anything to bring some more attention to this amazing game that we very hopefully obviously love.
Yeah, and like I said, you guys are this is the first of many episodes that you guys will see from us. Let us know in the comments if you have a specific faction that really appeals to you, that you want to try to see us cover. We're going to cover all the factions, but if there's a popular vote about a particular faction, we'll cover that one first.
Let us know how much you love the Commonwealth, how much better they are than
how much
everyone.
better they are than everyone.
I mean, I'm ready to discuss Flintlock.
For hours on end.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right, well, I think we did a great job here, guys. As is tradition at the Danger Planet, the last thing that we need to do is we need to say goodbye to the internet, because if we don't say goodbye to the internet, they'll have their feelings hurt. So I'll let you guys, you and Jared, and you, Keith, sign us off. Why don't you say goodbye to the internet, Mr. Jared?
Goodbye to the internet.
Goodbye, internet.
We'll see you guys next time, and you're going to see a hell of a lot more Moonstone stuff from us coming soon. See you guys.
Wow. Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by the planet. You can check out the video description below for all of our important info and links. You can see a link to the Discord if you want to come be nerds on the internet with us. We have channels for like all the games that we're playing and all of our community members are excited about. You can also check out all of our affiliate links for like our Redbubble merch store, our Pro Acryl discount code, because they make the best hobby supplies on our planet and yours. And of course, our weird affiliate link if you're buying Malifaux stuff straight from Jonathan Q. Weird himself. Most importantly, though, you can see a link to our Patreon, where I post things from time to time, like behind-the-scenes cuts or early vids, and we even have a tier where I'll bake you cookies and send them to you in real life. Thanks a ton to our current patrons who cover the cost of all of our software to make these videos, and we couldn't do it without them. You can see their names appearing now across the screen. And until next time, goodbye, the internet. We did it!